Hi, I'm Julie Fleming with Innova Consulting, and if you're like me, when you first discover a website, you always want to know who's behind it and whether they know what they're talking about. We've all seen those websites that look great, but they don't actually deliver, right? So here's a little bit about me and what it's like to work with me. After law school, I clerked for 2 years for a federal district judge. That's when I discovered patent law, and even though it meant going back to school to get a science degree, since I'd been an English major undergrad and I needed science credentials to sit for the patent bar, I decided that's what I wanted to do. Toward the end of my second round of college, I started working for a sole practitioner patent lawyer. He hired me to help with the trial, and we both spent hours and hours preparing for and then conducting the trial. Joe thought I showed promise, and he wanted to hire me full-time to develop a litigation group for his growing firm. Toward the end of the trial, I asked Joe what we'd be working on when we were finished with all of the post-trial motions. He got this strange look on his face, and he told me that he needed to figure that out, since he'd been putting all of his time into the trial and didn't have anything in the pipeline. He covered pretty quickly, but for a moment I saw his fear. I'm not especially proud to admit this, but as soon as we got back to the office, I started looking for a new job. I knew that I didn't know how to bring in new business, and I figured if Joe had let things slide that much, he probably wasn't so clear on it either. And let's face it, I had loans to pay. My next stop was a very large international firm where I knew I wouldn't have to worry about bringing in clients. And sure enough, no one breathed a word about business development until I was in my 4th year with the firm. All of the mid-level and senior associates were invited to a rainmaking lunch and learn, where we were told to network and get involved in organizations and write articles, and that we'd get business as a result, clear as mud. But I did my best to get something going, and I even got a few inquiries. They never turned into anything, but I felt like I was getting nibbles, and that was good enough for me. After about 6 years, I moved to an IP boutique firm. I knew that I'd need to bring in clients there, and so I started to get more intentional about business development. I read the books and attended some seminars, and I started to figure it all out. Long story short, I left full-time practice not too much later to launch my consulting business. At first, I worked with lawyers on any and every kind of practice issue, from the job search to work-life balance to time management. But then the economy turned. On one especially bad day in 2009, I had a full day of client appointments, and every client I spoke with had been laid off. My other clients who still had a job were somewhere between worried and terrified. Good lawyers and law firms were failing left and right. And I suddenly realized that even though everything I'd been discussing with my clients matters for having a successful practice, none of it would work without clients. It became clear that business development is the single most important skill a lawyer can have. And that's why Innova Consulting exists. Since 2009, I've devoted all of my time and energy to working with lawyers on how to get and keep great clients. I do all I can to get the word out that lawyers have to find ways to market that fit their practice, their personality, and their preferences. Just waiting around to do work that someone else has landed won't cut it in this day and age. I now work with clients in several ways. Thousands of people have purchased my book, The Reluctant Rainmaker, a guide for lawyers who hate selling. I've spoken to hundreds of people at law firms, bar associations, and law schools, and I've worked with hundreds more through group training programs. And finally, I work with a select few high-achieving lawyers on a one-on-one basis, either over a period of months or for one-day intensives. Here's the bottom line. Law is a profession, and you'd better practice law like a business as well, or you won't be in business long. You have to approach business development with the same dedication and commitment that you exhibit when you work with your clients. You've got to be willing to take on new experiments and to step outside your comfort zone. Above all, make sure that everything you do fits your practice and who you are. There's no magic wand, but if you invest time and energy and strategic effort, if you review your results and you tweak what you do accordingly, and especially as you learn how to distinguish yourself from others who work in your practice area, you'll discover the biggest rainmaking secret of all. Done right, business development is actually an extension of your practice, and not some strange foreign afterthought of an activity. And that's what Innova Consulting is all about, innovating business development for lawyers.